Happy Thanksgiving, everybody, of 2022. This is Glenn, and you've made your way to the Cactus Atlas. And today we're going to be doing what I'm going to call a vlogging adventure. Okay, so what is this vlogging adventure that you speak of, Glenn? Why should I stick around and watch this today? Well, to be honest with you, I think this video today is really meant for our returning viewers, the ones that subscribe, the ones that comment all of the time. We felt that it's pretty appropriate on YouTube to every once in a while just do something unscripted and vlog and share a little bit more about our personal selves so you can get to know us a little bit better. So that's really what this is, but I am going to intersperse all of that with a drive up through this the Tonto National Forest right north of Phoenix, and we're really going to go scout out some locations and go see what the heck lies beyond these mountains here in the Phoenix area. And therein lies how this is going to be a little bit of adventure, a little bit of vlog. The first thing that I wanted to do today is take you to see some old Hohokam pre-Columbian Society Indian ruins that are at the top of this hill. Amazing, amazing place that I think a lot of people in Phoenix, I probably don't even know about this. So telling you one of my favorite spots right in the Phoenix area to come see. And here's some other information here about some of the trails back here. Something called the Great Western Trail, a 3,000-mile shared backcountry route from Canada to Mexico. So apparently we're going to be on part of that today. This is somewhere I want to seek out, the Seven Springs Recreation Area. There's dispersed camping there, but apparently there's a lot of springs back here where back in the 1800s when people still traveled by wagons, they would have to have water sources, and this route we're going to take today is chock full of them, as you're going to see. So we're going to kind of explore some of that, and I think the whole general area that we're in is like the old Cave Creek mining district. And there is an old mine out here that has some Guinness Book of World Records fame, apparently, somewhere back there. And that's one of the things I kind of want to scout out today. I've noticed this has been a really big year of growth for us on this channel. Our subscriber base went up quite a bit due to the success of one or two videos, actually. It's kind of funny. So we've had a lot of new people come in the door. Excuse my heavy panting, I am out of shape. We'll talk about that a little bit later too. But anyway, a lot of new folks. We don't do these kind of videos that often, nor do I plan on it. But for those of you that come back week after week, those of you that comment over and over, we appreciate that so much. It's the fuel, it's the reason for being for us. So this is really a thank you in part, but it just seems appropriate. If you're going to spend this much time with us, maybe you should know more. We'll see. My reasons for doing this channel now today is really driven by that, the types of comments where we hear from people things like, oh, because of your video, we decided to go explore this location. Or because of your video, I decided to go camping for the first time. Things like that. That really is what does it for me. So please believe me when I say a big part of it is really your feedback, your comments, the things that really give it a pulse and a heartbeat. Almost a sense of a small community, as it were. So thanks again. Really mean that from the bottom of my heart. And here's our first structure. Like, I think there were more, and this is probably more indicative of what this looked like when the Anglos were out here discovering this. But as you'll see, there are lots of nicely reconstructed ones where archaeologists took the care to reassemble some of this. Now, I don't know if this particular one was reassembled or just in its natural state, or this one too. You could see the rocks are you could tell where the room is. There are several here. It looks like one here, one there, and one beyond it. But it gets better, don't worry. The prime attraction, I think, is way up there somewhere. The very top of the hill. We're very close. And this, to me, is probably not unlike what Tuzagut National Monument looked like before they restored that one. We visited that one on this channel too, to give you an idea. But that's kind of what I'm envisioning, as something like that built up onto this hillside. Here's kind of an overview of what a completed structure would have looked like, with like a roofed residence or storage room, some stone walls, and I think what the outline of that looks like today from the air probably, which I believe would be this guy right here. Pretty sure what we were just seeing in the picture was this, which would mean that there would have been a covered structure and the one in the back, but maybe courtyards in between. Maybe they had gardens where they grew corn and other things. I'm not quite sure, but really cool to see that. And such a beautiful, amazing view to boot, huh? Wow. And that's another interesting thing about this location, is out here in the Tonto National Forest, this is not the only ruin that I've read about, although the other ones that I've read about really don't have any trail access, but the culture started to build what appear to be fortifications on high hilltops, like this one in this northern area of Phoenix, the Phoenix area, and nobody really knows why or if that really is what it was, but it does seem to indicate there was kind of a defensive reason for them doing this. So one might think, were there other native tribes invading the area? Keep in mind, this is before the Spaniards came into the area, all pre-Columbian stuff. So prior to the white man really setting foot in America as we know today. Not gonna get into other things like the Vikings discovering America, you know what I mean. But really weird to think that, kind of interesting, and it is true. This is a very great vantage point. You almost get like 360-degree views from the very top of the surrounding countryside. So if you were keeping an eye out for something, this probably would be a good place to do that. Sign that talks about their engineering and this big retaining wall. I think you can see some of the remnants of that on the side of the hill, in fact. And then their structures, which were completely enclosed, they were built of rocks, and then they had some kind of like plaster or masonry around them. So they would have been like tan probably in appearance, and old wood. Haven't seen any old wood out here. But the same general architecture that we see at places like Chaco Canyon. And these would be among the ones that I think modern archaeologists help to reassemble. And you could see a depiction of probably day-to-day life. People hanging like pelts and making food. Probably all within this space here, right in front of me. And I reckon this is part of that retaining wall that we read about. You could kind of see it spanning the whole hillside here. I don't know how high it went, and a lot of it is tumbled down because of gravity, but that wall would be this guy here. Now, my favorite piece out here, my favorite piece of architecture is what's known as the mystery room, which is this thing right here in front of me. And the reason why it's called that is there's one feature about this that differs from all of the other structures here, which is generally its shape, the foundation. So here's a rendition of what the mystery room may have looked like, and really the point is, see how it's very rounded like that? And all of the other ones have right angles, or approximate right angles, like rectangles basically, rectangular foundations versus this pit house type of thing that had rounded corners. Okay, so one of the possible reasons the sign gives for this being different is that it's just earlier construction from a earlier time than the rest of the fort. So maybe this was like a singular thing up here that was for religious purposes, which is my theory. I'm going to explain why. And then maybe they started building these other nearby structures later on. You can kind of see here a nice view of that. So having been to Chaco and studied how some of the walls will line up like perfectly east-west especially, which I think have things to do with religious ceremonies, beliefs that there's a close connection to like the dead spirits, the ancestors, and places of emergence, things like that. What's really curious to me is you've got this door here, like this main entrance, the only entrance into this thing, and if I walk straight out here, there's this very peculiar boulder, rock spire, I would just say a boulder that's very precariously balanced, and you could draw a line straight from this thing, you know, into the front door. to this. It just lines up perfectly, okay? So you're following me so far, right? Now the cool part. So you got that perfect line there. That got me thinking, okay, what's east, what's west? Does this somehow line up on one of those like lines? And indeed it does. Check this out. So to do this well, I need to use my compass on my watch, which is hard to see and in the sunlight here. So that's probably the best I can do. You might have to take my word for it, but just believe me when I tell you that this door is perfectly aligned east, facing this rock. You can look at that and you know exactly what east is. Anyway, that makes this place more interesting to me. It makes me want to come back and do more research. I do plan on making a very robust documentary style video one day about the Hohokam culture and the other pre-Columbian cultures in Arizona, probably split out by culture, like the Hohokam, the Sinawa, the Southern Sinawa, the Northern Sinawa, the Salado. There's quite a few, all with very distinct pottery, all considered distinct cultures, but all living within close proximity of each other, and so many mysteries to uncover. So as we do more, I'm gonna look into this a little bit more and see if I can dig something up about that alignment that we were talking about. So anyway, back to the car. Let's mix in some of that personal vloggy stuff now so I can give up a little bit more. Now the first thing I want to say is more thank you to my partner in crime, Amy, my wife, the editor of all of the Cactus Atlas videos, or most of them I should say, almost all of them, probably the good ones. And I would say Amy, for those of you that don't know, just know the Cactus Atlas could not exist without her. No way, no chance, because she probably sinks more hours into it than I do. I just go out and film. I love the outdoors. I love to get out. Amy probably loves it when I get out of her hair for a few days. And Amy is the opposite. She's very much a homebody. She loves to stay home with our two cats, Mika and Miette, the sweetest cats ever. I love them too. But that's her personality. She also, some of you have commented here and there, probably thought to yourself, why is she in none of the videos? She really has no interest in that at all. No doubt. I would say she's a little camera shy, a lot camera shy. She doesn't like her picture taken. That's her personality, but I would say she seems to be very much into this, and truly, I would not have time to do all of the editing. You'd have much less frequent videos or no videos. Probably no videos. And also no on social media, because you'll find out I'm a very busy guy. This is not my full-time job. And I wouldn't have time to respond to every comment and converse with people, although I do sometimes. You probably don't know when it's her, when it's me, but you're probably conversing with her often on that. But make no mistake, I probably read every comment because I really get a lot out of that. So do know that I read them. By the time I get to them, she's probably already responded. But if she hasn't, sometimes I respond too. So I try to keep engaged with that. But oftentimes I do notice that some folks, I think, overlook that there's another person who's instrumental to this channel. So Amy, thanks again. I mean, you're really helping me live out a dream that I dreamt of years ago before I even knew Amy. And we'll get to that portion in a little bit later. Save me for later. And I apologize too if things get a little verbose and wordy. Like I said, this is trying to mix in part adventure, but also part personal vlog. So I might get very long-winded and it just might seem unscripted and I'm rambling. And I apologize, but that's the nature, I think, of a good vlog, is this will probably be more tightly edited than a lot of other people do. So anyway, there you have it. Okay, so before we hit the road and start driving up through the Tonto, wanted to talk a little bit more, maybe circle back around on the reasons for doing the channel. I'm gonna have to imagine, Amy's not here to speak for herself, but I imagine we both have slightly different reasons. Certainly one of the obvious ones might be if you're monetized on YouTube, meaning you meet certain criteria, you'll start to get paid if you so choose from YouTube and enable monetization of your videos. So we are monetized. We do make some side income off of this, but I can assure you, this does not appear to be like something that, at least now, that would ever be a full-time thing. So now we're getting into maybe the heart of the matter of why are we doing this? Well, certainly the extra money is a benefit and a motivator to continue to grow and get bigger, because the more views you get, the more money you get. Pretty simple formula, but I can tell you this, if you're interested in getting into this, relying on YouTube ad revenue is probably the worst strategy. It varies wildly. Our content is very seasonal, so we couldn't survive off of that. I couldn't pay my mortgage, my bills, anything like that. So if you think we're out here making tons of money, I assure you we are not. But I'm not going to go over my financials with you today, but I do want to get that out of the way, in that I do think there is an aspect of, having that be supplemental income, which is nice, and some months it can be very helpful. But yeah, like I said, at least at this point in our lives, the intent is not to go full-time with this, as much as I'd love to. So with that being said, I do have a full-time day job, and haven't really talked about too much what I've done. I've alluded to it being a technical discipline. Maybe I'll go a little bit further today, because quite honestly, I'm sure in this day and age, if someone wanted to figure out something about you, you got the internet. But I'm into software development. I'm a software engineer, and I've been doing it now probably coming up on a decade, really, or maybe a little more than a decade. And in my 30s, I had an opportunity to kind of just have a mulligan, I guess, on what I did, and I pursued a career in software development, and it's the most fulfilling, amazing thing that I've ever had. So it really is something I enjoy doing for the most part, but that is what I do full time. I'm not going to talk about the companies I've worked for or currently work for and other stuff. Want to maintain some bit of privacy as much as we possibly can, but yeah, I work with computers. I'm a computer programmer, and that really scratched an itch for me. I have a passion for it. You can ask Amy, like things, even the Cactus Atlas website, which we do have a website, by the way. We're not maintaining it anymore. It was pretty much a blog, but we are entertaining doing something new with it. And I'm gonna quiz you guys today, or ask you, maybe we'll do a survey out on the internet one of these days. But I think there's a future for that, but we're changing our strategy. But do note, cactusatlas.com, you could read about same adventures you've probably seen here on YouTube, and we've got all of our videos posted there too, so you could watch them on the website. But really, that kind of stalled out. And I'd say that really stalled out primarily because if you think about the level of work to do that, and keep in mind I told you that I have a full-time job, and what Amy already does on the Cactus Atlas for editing videos, I would say is pretty much a full-time job. She's easily sinking 40 hours a week into just editing and setting up the little social media we do and responding to comments. So, but what was I gonna say? The website. So the blog was just too much work, to write a blog post on top of editing the videos, on top of me filming the videos, working my other job. It's just not happening, and there's really not much of a reason to do it. I think the video format is our preferred format, but thinking of ways of how to incorporate technology, which I love, with this hobby. So I've got ideas of building apps for the Cactus Atlas, but more on that a little bit later. All right, I'm gonna continue that last thought in a second. I'm actually leaving Sears-Kay now because we had some other folks pull up as I was vlogging in one of the pavilions, and therein lies another secret about me, is I'm very introverted and very shy, and that is no lie. And that ties into part of the reason why I still do the channel today and how I got started, which I really think is a form of therapy for me. No lie. I'll tell you all about that in a minute, but just to give you a little taste, you're probably thinking, you gotta be serious, buddy. You're out on the internet doing all of this stuff. Well, I was sitting in there, like in a pavilion off to the side, these people pulled up. I could have waited 5 minutes for them to leave, but I am so shy. And Amy will tell you some stories, but when I'm in public and there are other people around, I freeze up. I get performance anxiety. I'm worried about what people think about me. I'm an introvert. Like, that is at my core, despite how I project myself in this media, I am an introvert with a lot of social anxiety issues too. So this channel is helping me out with that tremendously, but that's a secret, and just gives you a glimpse into how I work. I literally was gonna keep talking, but had to pack it up and leave because like one carload of like 3 nice ladies just showed up. So now you know why I go to all these places I go to. It's probably by design. Typically I go to places where there are no people. You really can see the beauty though of Arizona, the saguaro up on the hills up there. It's so majestic, and it's just so amazing how you climb in elevation so quickly. So for those of you that know your Arizona geography, your Phoenix geography, you know where Cave Creek is, Carefree, this is what lies right beyond that. I bet you many of you had no idea. And I bet many of you didn't realize there's fall color back here, as Amy and I discovered the other day, and I'm gonna show some of that off as part of this journey. So I can't speak for Amy the whole time on this journey, but you know, I do want to talk about, once again, what I get out of doing this channel. And there is a satisfaction, I would say, but part of it I think is therapy for me, giving me an outlet, a way to communicate with the outside world and feel comfortable. And over time, I have noticed, for real, like it's boosted my confidence with like my work, my professional career. I've actually even taken on promotions and things that I would have shied away from just because of fears of having to speak in front of people more and doing stuff like that. So this is the honest truth. I'm telling you the truth. That to me is something that I've just come to need. And then now you're getting another tidbit about me, is that I'm very much a loner. I love traveling alone. I love going out to remote places alone. I understand the risks involved. I take as many steps as I can to mitigate some of the risks. Talk about some of my equipment, for example, that I've got in this off-road vehicle now, all of that stuff. But that really shouldn't be a surprise to you, I would hope, when you watch, if you've been watching this channel, because I mean, I've never filmed with anybody else other than Amy, and she's rarely there. It's usually just a solo adventure. And that's the way I want it. That's the way I need it. As you'll notice as you drive through this area, there's lots of springs and creeks with random trees. I assume cottonwoods and other types of trees that we're gonna see lots of. This is a small taste of what you're gonna see. Unfortunately, I think we missed the prime of some of the trees back here, and others are just getting started. But you're gonna see a little bit of fall color today with me. And the other thing to remark on is, in just a couple turns, literally turns of the road, you're almost seeing no more saguaro. There's one here and a few up on the hill, but you're now on the outer boundaries of where saguaro can survive. So that's an amazing thing too, because as we're climbing an elevation this whole time, and you're gonna start to see, yeah, the landscape and the plants are gonna change. We're gonna pretty much be in pinyon pine and juniper forest soon. Okay, so already you're getting a lot more about me, which is really what I wanted, what I intended on doing. You now know some of our motivations for doing the channel, monetary, you know, part-time income, as well as other stuff. And here we go. Here's what I wanted to show you. Like, this is one of those areas where there's just this random grouping of deciduous trees, admittedly past some of their prime, but they're actually homes. I don't know if they're currently lived in down there, but this to me is a good opportunity to get the drone out, and let's go check this out from the air. So this is one of several locations like this along this route I'm gonna take you on today, and there is some dispersed camping in like lush areas like this. And Amy and I got our like autumn fix, I think, the best we can do out here in Arizona. This is no Northeast like New England, but that was fantastic driving down this road, let me tell you. Anyway, who really would have thought that? You know, just drive a few miles outside of Phoenix and see some pretty nice fall color. There are even homes and cabins that we think we spied in that dense thing. When we drive down there, my camera's not really facing out that way, but you know, getting the drone up here, we should be able to get a look a little bit at that like terrain and what it looks like. But yeah, it's just such a beautiful contrast between very sparse hills and then this like dense, lush forest. All right, so I got out, I flew the drone, and even though I think some of the reddish leaves are kind of more rusty now and close to falling off, it hopefully gave you an idea maybe of the potential. Because I'm assuming this is past its prime. Amy thought the same thing the other day when we were driving through here. But still, it's beautiful. And for those of us that don't see this every day, and knowing how close by this actually is to the Phoenix metro area, this definitely is a reason to come back next year. But as abruptly as you come upon it, poof, it's gone. You know, but we are going to encounter more places. One of my destinations that we're heading towards is called Seven Springs Recreation Area and Cave Creek Campground. We drove through that, another area very similar to this, and we'll get a good look at it. But and maybe that's a good next destination to kind of catch up on some other topics. But you know, we'll continue to drive, continue to enjoy the drive, and it's kind of crazy because I was just here and it's almost like I'm doing it for the first time again. And maybe that was a good segue topic for another one of the reasons why I do the channel, and this is something maybe in the last year or so that's really kind of become an addiction for me, is to really go seek out old ghost towns, old mines, just the old history that's dwindling away in front of us. So that's a big part of why I do this. That's probably one of my biggest leading reasons for doing this, is just documenting that on the off chance that some future culture or generation will take an interest in this type of thing. And I would say probably the last, but another very maybe obvious reason for why I do this, it's pure fun. Just the filming aside, getting out and exploring places, it's just pure fun. I mean, that's all there is to it. It's a simple formula. I love it. Amy is not so much into the outdoorsy stuff, like I told you. That's why you don't see her. She's very much the homebody. But, you know, I was thinking a lot too, is that even as strange as that sounds at times, I'm sure it does, it's actually like one of the most perfect situations when you really think about it. So not only does my wife love video games, which is one of the, in my rare extra time that I have, you'll find me playing video games, by the way. Another tidbit about me, but yeah, it's just the nature of our relationship really works, I think, just because I get out, she gets the place to herself for a few days, it's quiet, doesn't have to deal with me, and she does seem to enjoy witnessing it through the video aspect and the editing, so it just works. To me, it's just a perfect situation. Yeah, I wanted to stop again and just enjoy the quiet, but it's not so quiet because you can see a really nicely flowing creek. You probably can even hear the sound on this camera. If I shut up for a second, I can really see the running water through the trees, but we'll get aerial. But this seems a little bit more vibrant of color than what we previously saw. A lot more yellow here. So slightly different, but very much the same. Maybe the lighting's changed a bit, I'm not sure, but boy is it beautiful. All right, I just finished flying the drone around up there, and boy, is that a sight. I'm really impressed with this. You guys may not be, but this is just a gem, a hidden gem. This alone would be worth driving up this ways, which wouldn't take long. We're not that far out of the Phoenix area or outside of Carefree at this point. Now there probably are trails and things to get down in there and to probably find some really interesting wildlife. I would imagine they've got mule deer around here. I saw some warning signs for bears, probably black bear. I don't know, I'm skeptical, but probably a thing. But yeah, there's so much to explore, but so little time as usual. So we're gonna save the deep explorations for the future. But this is a nice little spot maybe to talk a little bit more about personal stuff. See what I'm doing here? Ping-ponging. So, okay, something of interest maybe to share. And maybe this is speaking out to our kindred spirits, other YouTubers that do this kind of hobby or doing it full time. I hit, I think, my very first severe case of burnout this week. So historically, if you've been following the channel, it's usually this week in November where I'll make a trip out to Death Valley. And I've gone 2 years in a row. This was gonna be my third year going. They had such bad rainstorms over the summer that most of the roads are still closed, even now in November. So I canceled it. I was just like, it just doesn't seem like a good idea to go up there. Was gonna do a bunch of stuff around here, and I just could not move this week. I wasn't sick, but the level of fatigue, the challenge of just getting out and doing this was just not happening. And I just finally had to submit and say, look, I'm just gonna chill out and sit on the couch, watch TV, whatever. And that was so desperately needed. So even though I say I love doing this, it is rough. That being said, I mean, it's hard. It's a challenge for me working a full-time job, and just like many other salaried people, I mean, you've got some weeks where you really burn the midnight oil, and I've got really good work-life balance, but after a while, your life becomes your regular job, and then immediately I jump into this stuff. A lot of it's researching now, reading, planning for future trips, but at some point your body or your mind just lets you know enough is enough, and that's what happened to me this week, actually, here in November. So no worries, we're still gonna try to maintain our weekly schedule. I'm not throwing up a flag. All I'm saying is I didn't do my usual thing this year, and I just couldn't. I had burnt the wick at both ends, I think. And that's really part of why I wanted to do this vlog. I don't think I mentioned it earlier, is not just to speak to the folks that subscribe and watch. It's also people that subscribe and watch, but do this for a hobby or a living also. People that we engage with on the channel all the time. I'm really genuinely curious, how do you manage it? What's your technique, especially those of you that are working a full-time job? Some of you even have kids. I can't imagine that because we don't have children. I mean, I don't have any plans for having children, but boy, those that do this have a family to take care of. Kudos to you. But yeah, I'm speaking out to you, people that I know. We comment on each other's channel. You know who. A lot of you know who I'm referring to probably, but yeah, how do you guys do this? Do you guys have full-time jobs? Do you do this full-time? And if you do this full-time, help me understand how you are successful doing it. All right, we got to keep a schedule here. So once again, unscripted. You know what, if I don't have time to go seek out that other mine, that's probably worth a separate video on its own. I'm really just enjoying this casual drive through here in this chat. It's kind of fun. I don't know, I don't think to talk about myself. I don't think to share stuff. Not even sure if I'm really sharing anything of value that you really care about, but this last topic about other YouTubers and stuff is one that I'm interested in talking a little bit about that a little bit more as we make our way to these recreation areas that I want to see. And maybe this is a little overdue, but we as YouTubers have a really big interest. When I say we as YouTubers, Amy and I as YouTubers have a very big interest in other people's channels. We have ones that have inspired us to do this, and we watch a lot of stuff, we subscribe to a lot of stuff. But what I really like about YouTube is the community around it, with other people doing the same thing, in their hometowns, their regions. That really has become my primary form of entertainment. I rarely watch television in a traditional sense. it's really almost all YouTube and just real people exploring the world. It's just, that's become my thing. I think Amy does a lot of that too, watches that too, but of course there are other channels that we frequent, we comment on, and there are a lot of channels I think that are smaller, like we are, that are also in a period of growth, and it's just really exciting to week after week watch your all's videos. You guys come back and watch ours and we comment, because it just feels like a kindred type of thing. It's like there are other kindred spirits out there doing this exact thing. So I'm always really interested in hearing from that group that I know is out there. And you know, as for other channels that we watch, some of the bigger time ones that I watch and Amy watches also, there's two in particular that are worthy of note. I think probably the biggest inspirations for us, and one of them is channel Adam the Woo, and I'm sure many of you like probably have watched him far longer than you found us, but not into all of the content. There's a mixture of things from theme parks to exploring lesser known places like we do, but that's been a favorite, and really like someone that showed us that, hey, you can do this. You know, there's an audience for everything. But Adam's like, yeah, really successful YouTuber, I would say. And there's another one that I would say is probably my particular favorite one, and I would say Amy would probably say the same, and that would be Justin Scarred. And once again, Justin does a lot of content, things ranging from things at Disney World, theme parks, Disneyland, a lot of theme park history, which I really dig, but also just Old West history, all of the same things that we do. Much larger audience, I would say very successful YouTubers, but I would highly recommend checking out those two channels. If you like this and you're looking for more to watch, those would be excellent recommendations that I could give to you. So I think we're winding our way down into this Seven Springs rec area, and look at the fall color. Like, we were flying above it just a while ago, flying over this very stretch, and now we're driving in it, and we're doing a stream crossing. Oh my gosh, I didn't put the snorkel on today. Not really. A little bit of water though. Now this, I believe, could be Cave Creek. There's two creeks in this general area, but as you could see in this otherwise dry and desolate stretch of Arizona, you have springs and creeks and running water. And you can see we are now officially entering Seven Springs right now. So there are two campgrounds here, and the one next to here I think is called Seven Springs. It's all dispersed camping, so I think no reservations, it's free. But Amy and I couldn't figure out how to get back there. There are entrances that are blocked off that cross the creek, but I don't see anybody back there, and I think there may be another road that we missed already that could take us back there. So I'm gonna, I'm not gonna go in there, but you could see beautiful area. There's another campground right around the corner called Cave Creek Campground, which is part of this whole oasis back here, and those we'll take a look at. We'll take a quick look at, and maybe I'll pull over here and see if we could peek in to the trees here, see if we see any black bear. See, no lie. We are just miles, mere miles from saguaro country. I even see a saguaro out here, just miles from the northern reaches of Phoenix, Cave Creek, Carefree, and I'm in an autumn wonderland. And it's so nice and beautiful weather, cool. Let's go off down to the creek at least, just so we can see some running water for those of you that may be in disbelief that this exists. But isn't this a wonderland? You people in Phoenix, like this is right in your backyard. And I bet you didn't know. I'm horrible with trees, so, clearly deciduous type trees. And I always say cottonwoods. I know you see a lot of cottonwoods in Utah. But out here, I don't know. I think I see wild horses, actually. I assume those are wild horses. There are a lot of horse riders back here and a lot of staging areas for horses. But I know they have wild horses in Arizona, and either those are wild horses or mules. I don't got anything for you guys. I don't think they were. They're probably just trying to get away from me. Look at that, wild horses. And it's crazy how I just parked right up there and they were right here, and they blend in so well. They caught me by surprise, actually, but here you go. I don't want to say this is Cave Creek. It could be. I want to say there was 2 creeks running through here, and my map didn't really say what this one was. This could be Cave Creek proper. It's really close by. And I was very disappointed with myself for this year not finding time to do like a Arizona fall episode. But I think I might partially redeem myself today with this area back here. I mean, to me that is autumn right here. You know, when I'm out in the middle of a place like this, you really can't even see outside of the forest, so you feel completely enveloped. But that makes me think, I could totally see bears and creatures like that, mountain lions probably seeking water and shade in places like this at times. There are a lot of humans though that are hanging out here, but not in this particular spot. Like I said, I don't know how to get back in here. But anyway, we saw some wild horses and I'm looking for other cool things, but I think we're gonna move on to the next very similar spot and look at some campsites. All right, we're gonna leave this autumn wonderland, which by the way, I think I see the road. I'll call it out when we drive by it. I saw a guy with a pickup truck and trailer going out that way. So there appears to be a way to get back. So maybe you can camp. But what we are gonna do is look for Cave Creek, which by the way, that was Cave Creek that we were just playing in. So for you people that live in North Phoenix or know about Cave Creek, there's your namesake creek, or your town's namesake. So the next stop is right on the same creek, Cave Creek Campground, which was certainly open and easily accessible. We popped our head in there briefly, and I see other campers dispersed down there, but all of this is free dispersed camping. There were no fees listed or anything, and it said dispersed camping. I see a lot of people down in there camping, actually. So I'm gonna guess when Amy and I were here on Thursday afternoon, there's only one person. I would not be surprised if now it's completely filled. And I may go do part of my vlog elsewhere, but we're just gonna drive through and I'll show it to you. I'm definitely gonna come back here in the near future, preferably like on a weekday night when there's nobody here, because I wanted to start doing some photography of the night skies and try some experiments out with my GoPro. But I need like dark, I don't want headlights and flashlights to screw up my shots or whatnot. So anyway, this is the Civilian Conservation Corps campground. My bad, I misspoke earlier. This was a campground developed by the Civilian Conservation Corps in the 1930s. So this has got some history to it as they were developing lots of things in this area. I feel like I got a cactus pricker like on my back or something is really like doing a number on me here. Sorry, told you this is unscripted and an impromptu. Isn't that funny, Amy, how this place went from being like a one-person show to virtually every site right now is taken, it would appear. There's a site at the end of this that was kind of nice, but there's only one way in, and it's tight if there's another car in there. You can't really turn around easily. So we're gonna just circle back around. Oh, dang. Yeah, like all these things like up in me, like they're actually like prickers of some sort. Might have to get like change and take my shirt off here. Not on camera. You guys know I'm shy already, so. But isn't this a spectacular campground with the changing leaves, the late autumn leaves? They haven't all fallen off yet. I could see why this place is booked. There's a campsite right there that's open, so I guess technically you could probably nab a site or two, but I'm gonna guess they're all soon to be taken. My plan was gonna be to park it here at a table and casually talk again while I eat a lunch. It's almost 2 o'clock now though, so lunchtime is, I always get into trouble with eating too. I always put it off, but I really need to do that. And then this is the point at which I wanted the turnaround anyway, to go seek out that other mine. But then I'm having second thoughts about that, because now I'm thinking, do I want to make that a standalone episode, an adventure? And I kind of think I do. So I don't know, but there's a trailhead here for, I'm trying to see what it is. It's a trail number 4, I guess. So Cave Creek Trailhead. This might be a launching off point for a lot of like cool features out here, like Skull Mesa, I think is the name of something out there. So lots of wilderness to explore on foot someday. But this parking lot's pretty tight, and there's quite a few people here, so I think we're gonna turn around. Okay, so let's go to Red Rover, and at the very least we'll have some off-road adventure, some good views, and the end of this 2-mile route I think ends at some private property, which may or may not be the mysterious Red Rover mine, Red Rover ghost town. Now, I was studying some other maps and, you know, geolocated pins on maps of where the mine is, and I don't think this route butts up against it. If I'm right, I think there's a different way to get up there, but because this is a featured Onyx off-road map route, I just want to check it out, and it, you know, it may or may not be worth doing a separate video on just that alone. So that's why I'm tying it into this, and it's kind of a scouting mission, so you're getting a taste of, I guess, some Cactus Atlas style scouting. So I'm looking at my list of topics and things to want to share and discuss with you. And maybe it's a little bit about the future of the channel and what I do have plans to do. So with the purchase of this 4x4 vehicle, this has really opened up a world unlike any others. That living out in the West, of so many places I can go explore now comfortably and safely. So with that, I plan on this upcoming year, I've got a personal goal of seeing if I can only, when I travel, do dispersed camping the entire year and not spend a cent on hotels or even campgrounds. But, you know, maybe the exception will be national park campgrounds or something like that, because those are definitely worth staying at and checking out. But really, I just want to be off the grid and go out to some of the more remote locations that I never could visit before. So not really intending on turning into like an off-roading channel. I want it to be the same thing that you've come to expect on the Cactus Atlas, just in more remote locations. And that might be another interesting thing to discuss, maybe the monetary side of doing this, because, you know, Amy and I think are getting more disciplined as we move forward with everything from how we do our taxes to, you know, maybe what I'm thinking about here with the dispersed camping formula and tying that into the channel. Is really trying to treat this as a more of a viable business. You know, as I mentioned, no plans on perhaps ever becoming full-time. I like what I do with my day job, and there's no way I could like trade this income for that, not even close. But one of my dreams that I've alluded to is maybe as I approach retirement age, you know, maybe instead of retiring at 65 or whatever is traditional in this day and age, maybe this, by that point, a decade or more from now, will become, you know, something viable. I would never expect it to match what I make now. You know, I work in a very in-demand field, and I'm very fortunate for that. But if it ever did, you still would need extra money to cover your health insurance, retirement savings. I mean, there's all of that I would need to be fulfilling in order to do this full time. But as I approach retirement age, if I feel comfortable with what we have saved by that point, and hopefully we do, I might be able to ride off into the sunset doing this for a couple years and into my retirement years, so I stay active and engaged. That really is what, like, I would say would be the pinnacle of success for me. If I could achieve that over the course of the next 10 years or more, and then still maybe have my footing in a home base, because Amy wants to be rooted at home, but I could go on the road for more extended periods of time, you know, overland, do things like that. That's really what, you know, to me would be success. Like, that would be the ultimate success. I would say that would exceed every expectation. So just to level set where I'm at. But what I'm happy with and content with is if I could do this as a hobby and it continues to grow and you see a little bit more in ad revenue. You know, keep in mind, we're not selling merch. We're not really trying to do anything to really make money at this point. So outside of exploring other things like that, to me, I'm very content with the current state of things. If this is as good as it gets monetarily, you know, heck, like, I'll take it. I do have a lot more like old mines and ghost towns planned, though. I've been doing a lot of research. If I didn't do anything this week in terms of filming, I guess I had a very productive week when it came to reading and researching locations. I've been doing tons of that. So I've got a list going that's 10 miles long with that. So do know that if you like that aspect of our channel, I know some of you like the natural beauty stuff, the national parks, and some of you probably came here for the Old West stuff. Hopefully you like it all, and we do try to combine all of those things in one package because usually these old places are in beautiful spots. But do note I've got bigger plans, including even exploring some old mines, ones that I have assessed the risk of doing so. Nothing crazy adventurous, no rappelling, nothing like that. But yeah, I would say out of all the roads I've done so far, on any of the videos that I've done, one that you may not have seen yet, this isn't rough, like from the standpoint of being like on really sharp, you know, well, right here it is, but it wasn't before, but you know, it's a little sandy, so it's kind of smooth in that respect. But anyway, I'm gonna pull off here and we'll take a look on foot really quick at the surrounding terrain, because that's beautiful out here. Now this is peace and quiet. The mic was only good enough to pick up the birds and the occasional gunshot. You hear that? Yeah, someone's shooting a lot out that ways. But yeah, other than the sounds of gunshots, it's pretty nice. That sounds horrible. Just a horrible way to start something off. Other than the sound of gun... Whoa, you hear that? That sounds like artillery almost. What the hell are they shooting up there? I can almost feel the rumble in my pants. Usually where you see broken glass and broken beer bottles and a bonfire, you know, there are some people having a good old time out here, especially how they tear the road up like that. But yeah, like you can really see as we came over this direction too, I think we're surrounded now by juniper and pinyon pine. Very dense. You don't even realize these pockets exist, like back here, and I see like agave and really cool plants that you don't really see down in the Phoenix Valley. It's hard to imagine that somewhere down in that valley is that autumn wonderland that we explored earlier, you know? But this is what the general terrain looks like. And, you know, we're climbing up again in elevation as we head over to these mountains over here. Didn't make note of what the mountains names are. I know there's a set of mountains, I think, called the Magazine Mountains somewhere out here. Am I thinking of the right place? But anyway, absolutely beautiful country. So now I'm starting to procrastinate because it is approaching 3 p.m. And I did say this would be an unscripted adventure. And part of me feels like, oh, you're wimping out, dude. And it's really not that. It's really a concern of time because it's 2:45. And not only do I have to turn around and get out of here, we also have to get down the other dirt road. Then I got to drive all the way home. So, because Phoenix is a really big area. So what I think I'm going to do is opt to actually, let's get the drone out and let's do our little survey of the area. Because I did thought I saw what might have been tailings off on some hills over this way. And that's really what I was mostly curious about today, is just to get out here, survey the terrain, set some expectations, which this certainly has. But definitely doable. But I'm wondering if this is a standalone worthy adventure. The more I get down here, the more I think it is. So that's my reason today, and I'm sticking to it. So yeah, my survey via drone really didn't uncover much. It's, you know, what's been going on is we've been going down a steep descent into this wash, and then you climb out of it, and then it flattens out, and you could see the road stretch on and on. Looks like it flattened out. It was still pretty rutted, but I didn't see anything of interest, to be honest, at least not for a while. So, and I'm still skeptical based on my remembrance of looking at GPS coordinates of this Red Rover mine, if this is the way you get to it. So, and now that I'm out here, I really am thinking that would be an adventure on its own. So I want to save that whole thing for a separate day. And I really got to get home. It's 3 o'clock now, but we're not quite done yet. Maybe we'll talk and chat a little bit more on the way back, but now we got to go back up out of this treacherous part. So, woo. What else I feel like I owe you something else before we part ways, something more personal, and I'm really struggling. I'm not good at this, if you haven't been able to tell, I don't think. But, okay, what about music? Like if we were hanging out, eventually that always comes up. Like, what music do you like? What's your favorite band? Well, I can tell you for sure, it's taken me a long time, many years to come to this conclusion, but I do not have a favorite band, nor will I ever. And I know on the off chance those that have known me for many years watch this or see this, you knew what a lot of my former musical tastes were, but I've really changed. Thought I heard a noise over there. But anyway, I really have changed a lot in terms of my taste. It's very wide. You wouldn't be surprised to know in probably virtually any genre there's something that I would like. But right now I would say, while I don't have a favorite band of all time, I do have favorite bands of a given time frame, maybe a month, 2 months, where I listen to the same album ad nauseum over and over and over, as Amy can attest to. And right now for me that's been Quicksilver Messenger Service, which I've somehow never really listened to that until recently. I've always listened to a lot of classic rock, or what I would call classic rock bands from the 60s, but never really gave that one a chance, and it's really spectacular, especially their very first self-titled album. That's really what I've been listening to. So if you were on a road trip with me, you know, there's a lot of singing that happens, and you're not really gonna see that here unless, you know, yeah, you're not gonna see that on the channel, I don't think. But, you know, a lot of singing along. I like a lot of been really into Graham Parsons a lot this past year, and, you know, the Flying Burrito Brothers, like stuff like that. Tend to like things with a little bit of a country, the classic country twang to them, with still some rock and roll. That's been my thing for about the last year. So maybe I'll end it with a couple future plan statements. The big one for me that I really have been struggling with hard the last couple years, probably because of COVID and all the working from home and just, you know, retreating into ourselves, just really getting out of shape. I would say the worst shape of my life. I've hit my, you know, the highest weights of my life, and, you know, really it's time to change that. And it really would blend well with what I want to do on this channel and the places that I want to go. So I'm not telling you that because I'm not looking for, you know, some people like to do that publicly and say, oh, hold me accountable or whatever. Only I can hold myself accountable. And I think that's the fact of the matter. I've been successful in the past. So I'm not really big on like the New Year's resolution type of thing, and it's getting towards the end of the year. But I want that resolution to start sooner than the end of the year. And it's something I've been giving a lot of thought to, especially like after this week of just being outright fatigued and, you know, just didn't have the up and go to make more videos. But that's a big thing that's, you know, in my future. It just has to be. So hopefully you start to see me lose a few pounds over time. So, well, there you go, I guess. There's another tidbit for you. And I think I'm running out of tidbits at the moment. I mean, because quite honestly, you know, the thing I could say above all else is on this channel, what you seeing me on the road is me in my most natural state. Talking to like at this time, like a fake audience, a camera, knowing on the other side of that, there are people watching, but it's really like I get to hang out and share all of this awesome stuff, and I just lost my train of thought. All right, so I came down to this wash to really get out of the sun that's going down lower in the sky, and it's gonna be in my face on the way back, so filming's not even an option now, facing that direction. But anyway, I don't know how this is gonna come out. This is just a weird, unscripted thing. I said a lot, probably a lot of nothing, but probably some things you've heard before, some of you, maybe for the newer folks, not, but I also got to explore some really frickin' cool spots in Arizona. And my only regret is not finishing the Red Rover route, but we'll be back. We're gonna do an episode about this whole area, and we're gonna try to seek out old miners' cabins and other things I've read about. So save that for another day. Thank you if you've come this far. Happy Thanksgiving, happy holidays, and keep coming back for more.